Love is the most elegant form of control. It doesn't chain you, it convinces you the chains are your choice. It whispers loyalty, promises safety, and leaves the door wide open for manipulation to walk in dressed as intimacy. That's why Machiavelli didn't romanticize love, he dissected it. According to him, love wasn't a virtue. It was an opening. A strategic liability disguised as moral high ground. Because the man who leads with love gets studied. The man who leads with fear gets obeyed. This video is your turning point. You'll get Machiavellian tests to expose where affection becomes exploitation, and by the end, you'll know exactly how to build emotional walls that don't need defending. So stay till the end. And if this already hits something inside you, subscribe right now. Don't get lost in the noise of empty advice. Here, every video brings clarity, fresh, sharp, and timeless. Because for every problem that feels chaotic and overwhelming, Machiavelli left us a clear, brutal, and effective answer. So, let's begin. Where love begins, strategy often ends. You love your family, your friends, your partner, so you overshare, forgive too quickly, and justify what hurts you, thinking, if I would never hurt them, they wouldn't hurt me. But Machiavelli would have laughed. He knew betrayal doesn't come from enemies, it comes from those closest, the ones who know you won't strike back. The real danger isn't in conflict, it's in familiarity. Your enemies fear your silence. But those you love get comfortable with your softness, your obedience, your constant availability. Eventually, they stop earning it. They expect loyalty without effort, forgiveness without change, and when you finally pull back, they react like you've betrayed them. Why? Because unguarded love doesn't just soften you, it reshapes you into something useful. Not always out of cruelty, but always by design. Machiavelli didn't reject love, he contained it. He loved with limits, with filters, with plans. Because love without structure becomes emotional exposure, and that's the most exploitable position a powerful person can be in. Being cold-blooded isn't cruelty, it's awareness. Awareness of how people shift when they get too close. Of what you surrender when you become emotionally transparent. Of how love, when unquestioned, turns into entitlement. Even those who love you unconditionally can hurt you, without meaning to. And those who only stay for what you provide. They'll hurt you intentionally. So the answer isn't to stop loving, it's to stop leading with love. Because the moment you put emotion before leverage, you start losing both. Ever notice how your family dismisses your advice? How friends tune out once they've taken what they need? How your partner no longer fears losing you? It's because they know, your love overrides your logic. You'll apologize first. You'll return. You'll explain, justify, defend, but never enforce. And that makes you predictable. Safe. Soft. Machiavelli warned, it is better to be feared than loved, if you cannot be both. But when it comes to those closest, fear feels wrong, so you stop playing the game. And they start winning it. That's the cost of staying warm. You lower your standards. Accept what you destroy strangers over. Stay quiet just to keep the illusion of peace. But that peace is really their comfort with your weakness. And once they get comfortable with it, they'll test it. Then push it. Then exploit it. You don't need to stop loving. You just need to love with boundaries sharp enough to bleed. Let them feel your warmth, but never without a wall behind it. Because the moment your love becomes unconditional, so does your pain. It's never strangers who break you. It's always the ones you let too close. Machiavelli understood exactly why. He wasn't paranoid, he was precise. He knew that the people who learn your soft spots, your limits, your silence, are the ones most likely to press them, not out of hatred, but because they've stopped fearing you. And when fear disappears from a relationship, respect follows right behind it. Some people don't challenge your power directly, they test it quietly. They push boundaries not to hurt you, but to measure you. These are the psychological pressure points Machiavelli warned about, the subtle shifts in behavior that reveal who sees you as strong, and who's starting to forget. Test 1, the entitlement test. At first, they're grateful. Then they stop thanking you. They stop asking for permission. They stop acknowledging the effort you put in. Why? Because in their mind, they already own you. They believe you'll always show up, always help, always say yes. And the moment you don't, suddenly, you're selfish. You've changed. You're cold. But Machiavelli would say, let them speak. That sound you hear isn't sadness, it's the sound of someone mourning the loss of control they once had over you. Test 2, the guilt reflex. You set a boundary, they get emotional. You say no, they dig up the past. You protect your time, suddenly, you're distant. It stops being a conversation and becomes a maneuver. They've learned that guilt can be a lever, and if you flinch even once, they'll file it away and use it again. That isn't love, it's emotional negotiation. And if guilt can make you abandon your stance, then it was never truly a stance at all. Test 3, the loyalty loop. You've been loyal, consistent, supportive. But when you're the only one doing the work, your effort stops being appreciated and starts being expected. They stop checking in, stop showing up, and only reappear when it serves them. And when you finally pull away, they panic, not because they love you, but because they just lost their emotional insurance policy. Machiavelli would say, if your loyalty becomes predictable, it will be exploited long before it is appreciated. Test 4, just this once. This one is subtle and dangerous. It always starts small. Can you cover this? Can you cancel that? Can you let it go just this once? But the moment you say yes, it's no longer just once. You've proven you're flexible, and they'll keep bending you further. They learn that proximity to you gives them permission to bypass your values. That's not connection, it's pressure disguised as closeness. Test 5, the you're too harsh defense. You speak directly, they call you cold. You create space, you're accused of being stone-hearted. You stop tolerating disrespect, now you're heartless. This is how your strength gets flipped into guilt. But they don't miss your warmth, they miss the version of you that allowed bad behavior without consequence. That version is gone, and what they call cruelty is just clarity. Machiavelli would expect this and say, the closer someone stands to you, the more they expect you to absorb their chaos. And when you stop, they'll accuse you of changing. They'll call your evolution betrayal. Let them. Because the man who fears offending the people he loves will always be surrounded by those who love how easy it is to offend him. The solution? Stop proving you're good. You owe no one explanations for your boundaries. You don't need to justify your silence, defend your detachment, or apologize for outgrowing the emotional systems they depended on. You enforce, quietly, consistently, without flinching. Let them accuse. Let the tension rise. Because once they realize the old version of you is gone, they'll either evolve or leave. Either way, your position becomes stronger. Being cold-blooded doesn't mean being heartless. It means protecting your emotional power with precision, especially from those who assume you'll never use it. If you don't defend your center, you'll become the dumping ground for everyone else's chaos. Machiavelli didn't build walls to keep people out, he built filters to see who deserved to get in. And once inside, no one stayed without constant requalification. Let's talk about how to build emotional armor that doesn't crack under pressure. Rule number 1, don't explain your emotional distance. You don't owe anyone a reason for going quiet, needing space, or saying no. The more you explain, the more you invite negotiation. Machiavelli would say, to act without permission is to signal strength. So when they ask, "Why are you different?" don't explain. Say, "I've recalibrated," and leave it at that. Silence earns respect, or reveals who never had any. Rule number 2, set consequences, not conditions. Don't beg for better treatment. Don't say, "Please don't do that." Demonstrate, "When you cross the line, I disappear." You don't return when they panic. You return when you choose. Boundaries don't beg. They act. That's what makes them powerful. Rule number 3, don't negotiate through emotion. Once they know you react under pressure, they stop respecting your mind and start playing your emotions. Machiavelli wouldn't allow that, because once your emotional shield is pierced, they aim straight for your wounds. No emotional monologues. No impulsive returns. Silence becomes your leverage. Stillness becomes your stance. If they want access to your softness, they'll have to earn it. Rule 4, know what you tolerate, and never bend. Most people adjust boundaries based on guilt, fatigue, or familiarity. That's not compassion, it's emotional inflation. And it destroys your value. Set clear rules, no yelling. Distance stays until I end it. No forgiveness without change. And enforce them always. People don't test strength. They test weakness. Machiavelli didn't punish often, but when he did, it was cold, final, and irreversible. Do the same, or they'll keep gambling with your forgiveness. Rule 5, don't fear being called harsh. Most fold the moment they're labeled cold or heartless, even when they know they're being used. But Machiavelli feared being seen as easy, not cruel. Let them call you cold if it helps them cope. Because fearing perception more than reality is how you lose power. You're not cruel, you're clear. Love without limits becomes sacrifice. And sacrifice without recognition becomes slavery. This is where most people hesitate. They fear becoming cold, numb, unreachable, but that fear comes from confusion. Cold-blooded strategy isn't emotional disconnection, it's controlled emotion. Machiavelli didn't shut off his humanity, he mastered when and how to use it. Because in a world that punishes softness, feeling everything means giving up control. Cold-blooded doesn't mean unfeeling, it means choosing when to feel, and for whom. It starts with how you process pain. When disrespected, you don't react, you calculate. When lied to, you don't spiral, you observe. When someone pulls away, you don't chase, you assess. You stop asking, "Why did they do this to me?" and start asking, "What does this reveal about them?" For Machiavelli, pain was never personal, it was data. And nothing is more unsettling than silence, not rage, not revenge. Just quiet removal. No outburst, no warning, no second round. Power comes from timing, not impulse. That's why you build a strategic pain mindset. Every disappointment becomes intel. The cold-blooded mind doesn't mourn, it reorganizes. It remembers who is willing to lose you, and adjusts accordingly. It turns hurt into clarity, distance into power, and loss into transformation. You don't lose your heart, you build a system to protect it. Most people love blindly, hoping loyalty will earn loyalty. But Machiavelli knew, hope is not strategy, and kindness without structure is suicide in disguise. So you don't shut down, you filter. And behind that filter, only consistency earns access. Your warmth is no longer default. Your care is not unconditional, not because you're cruel, but because you finally understand your value. And here comes the shift most people can't make, the willingness to be misunderstood. They want to be respected, but still approved of. Strategic, but still liked. But if your growth depends on how well others receive it, you've already surrendered your freedom. You will be called cold. You will lose people who only love the version of you that was easy to use. Let them go. Their discomfort isn't your problem, it's just the pain of losing access to someone they could once manipulate. Being cold-blooded doesn't make you cruel. Being detached doesn't mean you don't feel. But that's exactly how they'll frame it the moment you stop overgiving, over-explaining, and over-bleeding. Suddenly, you're too much. Too clear. Too self-possessed. That's where most people break. They either stay soft and get used, or they go numb and lose themselves. But Machiavelli chose neither. He walked the middle path, the path of strategic empathy. So how do you stay powerful without turning into what they accuse you of? How do you protect your edge without losing your humanity? It begins with intention. You don't set boundaries to punish, you set them to protect. If you're pulling back, not out of coldness but because you're drained, you're not cruel, you're clear. Machiavelli didn't care about appearing noble. He cared about position. And those who maintain their position without cruelty, they're rare. That's who you become. Kindness doesn't make you weak, unless you forget why you walked away in the first place. There's nothing wrong with giving someone another chance. The mistake is erasing the reason you left. You can offer softness, but never surrender. You don't return without terms. You never give without structure. And distance alone isn't power, presence is. When you show up, speak clearly, and exit with precision, your absence lingers. You become the reminder, not the wreckage. The calm in the room. The one they can't stop thinking about, because you left without noise, and still shifted everything. You don't force respect. You make disrespect expensive. You don't beg for apologies, don't chase understanding, don't repeat yourself. You withdraw access. You remove emotional privileges. And if they rise to meet your standards, you reconsider. If not, they were never meant to walk beside the version of you you're becoming. Your kindness must become selective. You still care, but now, you're careful. You give slowly, with checkpoints. With exit routes if it turns. And if they call it transactional, let them. Unconditional giving sounds noble until it's used to trap you. You now give only what aligns with your energy, your vision, and your emotional stability. That's not selfish, that's self-command. And you don't explain your evolution. You don't debate your boundaries. If they call you cold, distant, changed, let them talk. Power isn't proven through arguments. It's revealed through consistency. If they miss the old you, they can remember. But they don't get access to the upgraded version until they prove they've grown too. Balance isn't softness. It's not being neutral. It's being exact. You reflect people back to themselves with precision. You offer warmth only when earned. And you remain calm, no matter who throws the first punch. That's Machiavellian empathy, strategic, conditional, and unshaken. You've seen the patterns. You've learned the rules. You've outgrown the version of yourself that was too soft to survive. The final shift isn't mindset, it's lifestyle. Machiavelli didn't theorize power, he became it. And if you want to stay cold-blooded in a world that demands emotional servitude, you'll need something most people never build: rules, rituals, and repetition. Because real boundaries don't get spoken, they get lived. But insight isn't enough. Once you understand the game, you have to change how you move through it. Because cold-blooded isn't just a mindset, it's a lifestyle. And power, in Machiavellian terms, isn't maintained by words. It's maintained through practices, repeated until they no longer look like strategy, they look like who you are. The first practice is silence in motion. You don't need to announce distance, explain detachment, or post about boundaries. You simply shift. You slow down replies. You stop over-explaining. You withdraw, not to punish, but to protect, and you never rush back. Real boundaries aren't declared. They're enforced through consistency. Machiavelli didn't ask for permission to go quiet. He just made sure they felt the silence. The second practice is polite distance. Your warmth isn't automatic, it's earned and sustained. You greet with control, speak with precision, and leave before your presence becomes a commodity. The emotionally familiar man is easy to use. But the one who stays deliberate? He's untouchable. Cold-blooded doesn't mean harsh, it means structured. Third, you master the pause. You don't snap when disappointed, don't escalate when tested. You observe, record, and decide. Cold-blooded isn't a lack of feeling, it's refusing to let emotion move before thought. That pause becomes your advantage. And when others spiral, sulk, or explode, your stillness will shake them more than any outburst ever could. Fourth, never reopen what you closed unless standards have changed. Time is not a reason. Apologies are not proof. You left for a reason, and if that reason still exists, you haven't missed anything. Most return out of loneliness or nostalgia. You return only if growth has occurred. Time doesn't heal betrayal. Standards do. Finally, treat your peace like a private weapon, not a public message. You don't need to market your growth. You're not cold-blooded to be admired, you're cold-blooded so no one accesses you by default. You move in silence. You protect without display. You let the results of your control speak louder than any caption, quote, or confession ever could. So no, you're not cold. You're not heartless. You're not distant. You've just stopped handing out access to those who haven't earned it. And in a world that feeds on emotional exposure, that's not cruelty, that's sovereignty. Because Machiavelli never begged for peace, he built systems that demanded it. And now so do you. Not through noise. Not through revenge. But through something far more terrifying to those who once underestimated you: unshakable discipline, strategic silence, and the refusal to ever bleed for the unworthy again. This isn't a phase. This is the new law. And you don't warn them about it. You just live by it. Cold. Clear. Untouchable.